putting out in the platinum, you have food in the.
Mhm. And good morning. Welcome to No Apologies, Please. It's your host, Greg Meriweather. It's a beautiful day. Excited about today's show. So today we're going to have a special guest. We're going to have Dr. David Hampton. He's coming to talk from LISC. For those of you who do not know what LISC is, LISC, man, is an organization that focuses on developing the community, helping the community. Great organization, great brother. Excited to have him on. Waiting for him to come on, but nonetheless, we've got some stuff, man, we need to do. We got to do some housekeeping. One, tomorrow we won't be on because I'll be recording the Landing on the Line tomorrow. So shout out to Shauna Majors. So we'll be doing our recording all day tomorrow. Then I'm gonna have some other guests on this week. I'll have Kurt Moore, and then I'll also have James Lomax on this week. We're gonna talk about being a mentor. So for those of you who understand what it means to have a mentor, we're definitely going to talk about mentorship. And so I've got some news about as I wait for our guests to get here, I got some news. I want to talk about summer celebration. I know that people saw my post yesterday. And I posted about summer celebration with the Indiana Black Expo. Some people were disheartened by the post, but it looks like they've got a nice show lined up. The venue definitely has changed. I know that everyone's not happy about the venue change. The venue has changed, and but at the same time, it's like they're still going to have a show. So. In the show, you're going to have Johnny Gill, my favorite, Layla Hathaway, Morris Day and the Time, Atlantic Star, Karen White. They're all going to be in the outdoor concert. This is going to take place at the IU Michael A. Carroll Track and Soccer Stadium. And that's 1001 West New York Street, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46202. And general admission tickets start as low as $10. VIP seating at $50, $75, and $100. And so I know that people are looking and they're used to having a free concert, but when it's all said and done, things change. So this is what was presented. This was what I saw from WTLC. I'm going to share this because I want you to hear it, and it's not for me. I want you to hear it. So the promoter of the concert is usually AMP here. So I want you to hear what AMP has to say about it. So let's listen up.
These have changed. Concerts are really expensive to do. The artist prices are going up. The hotel prices are going up. The tech prices, everything. Stagehand prices are going up. For Indiana Black Expo to be a nonprofit organization, that business model was dated. And instead of letting the concert just completely go away, we tried to figure out what can we do to sustain it. Now, people are going to ask, well, if you've known this for that long, why do you do it? Well, you do it because it's for us, by us. Mm-hmm. And instead of us just saying, again, we're not going to do the concert we put a modest price on it. And when I say modest, I mean modest. When I'm talking to artists and they're like, Amp, how are you going to do a concert? And the cheapest ticket, the lowest price ticket is only $10. Like that's more than what you would pay in Ticketmaster fees.
By the way, there are no fees.
That's beautiful. So $10 is $10.
$10, that's where it starts.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, so we have a general admission ticket that's $10, and then we have a silver ticket price that's $50. Then we got a gold ticket price that's $75. Then you got a platinum ticket, VIP ticket that's $100. And those ticket prices, the higher the price, the better the seat, and then the better experience. So we're building out in the platinum price. You'll have opportunity to have food in the VIP section, opportunity to have your own bar inside the VIP section. So this experience, you know, from the date change, this is not the first time that Indiana Black Expo is hosting a concert over at IU Indy. Back in 1994 and 95, there were concerts there. Some people may remember R. Kelly was there. Some people may remember, you know, it was Patti LaBelle and the Gap Band was there. So, you know, this is the experiences over there is not different for us, but it will be for some people. But the biggest thing is that people are going to complain about, which is what they do. It used to be free. Well, I would say for people, this may not be for you if $10 is too expensive. And I understand.
I mean, Dollar Tree is not Dollar Tree anymore. Okay.
Bingo.
So.
That, right. So, you know what I mean?
I should have. I think I may have been a little bit more nurturing in my approach to.
And so the free concert is no longer free. Let's just clear that up. I know that a lot of people are upset about it. I know a lot of people are upset about the change. Let me tell you something. Indianapolis is totally changing. Expo has changed drastically. It's definitely not the same, but you know, I will say this, having an artist, in my opinion, such as Layla Hathaway, now being part of the Black Expo is a huge thing for me. You may not like her, but you know, she's one of my favorites, and I know that she doesn't come cheap. And so when it's all said and done, it seems like they are barely sustaining the Black Expo altogether. It's nearly non-existent. It used to be 2 weeks full of activities. It did. And I think that things are changing. And you know what? Let's embrace the change and let's see what happens. So nonetheless, I see my guest is here. Before I introduce him, I want to talk about LISC really quickly, and then we're going to let him chime in. We're going to have a great show. We're going to talk about it. Let's see what LISC is about. And then when we come back, we'll introduce my brother, Dr. David Hampton, and we're going to chop it up real tough today because I'm excited about having him here. So let's look and see what LISC is all about.
LISC Indianapolis is the local office of the nation's leading community development organization. LISC, or Local Initiative Support Corporation, helps local groups and institutions working to transform disinvested places into flourishing ones. We do this by channeling capital to community-led projects and initiatives, helping improve neighborhood infrastructure, and working to dismantle the systems that have perpetuated inequality and barred people from opportunity. Since our founding in 1992, LISC Indianapolis has been guided by what neighbors want for themselves, their families, and the places they call home. We tackle ongoing needs in every corner of community life, including affordable housing, economic development, education, financial stability and workforce development, and social determinants of health. We've invested $312 million in Indianapolis neighborhoods and leveraged more than $1.1 billion in other community investment, resulting in 8,100 affordable homes and apartments and 7.9 million square feet of commercial retail and community space in the city. We are proud of the work we do and know its impact to be positive and long-lasting. But it is far from done. We must continue to invest intensively so that our neighborhoods are more just, resilient, and competitive in the future. Together, we can re-envision our society and create the future that we want, one that is safer, healthier, and more equitable for everyone.
So with that being said, man, that's what LISC is all about. We're going to introduce my brother, Dr. David Hampton. He is not in his car. He is not driving. He is not, I don't think he's out of town. I think he's here.
Free and
How
clear.
you doing, bro?
I am great, Brother Meriweather. Thank you so much for having me on the show again. And again, just proud of what you're doing. And, great to be here with you.
Man, thank you, brother. It's always a pleasure. I see I've been looking, you've been working since you've been on. Tell us, man, what's going on with Dr. Hampton and LISC, and what are you up to, man?
Well, man, I'm excited about LISC because, as both of us sort of talked about in the first episode, being men of faith and understanding ministry comes in many forms. And so for me, this is ministry. It's, our mission to close the racial wealth gap is something I've always been passionate about. So I feel really blessed to be in a position where I can do that on a daily basis and actually, receive grant dollars, leverage grant dollars, ensure that gets to our Black and Brown communities, into, infusion into Black businesses, and to actually sort of see some of those results and see the impact. Man, that brings so much, personal gratification that it just, creates a passion for the job even more. So
Sure,
just
absolutely.
excited to work for such an organization.
Absolutely. So, man, when we look at just the infrastructure in Indianapolis, we look at business structure in Indianapolis. Tell me, what's the temperature, especially in the Black community? I know that I saw an article where it said more Black businesses had been open in Indianapolis. It was like top in the nation. Tell me what's happening, in the temperature in the city as it relates to, Black businesses starting to thrive more in Indy.
Yeah, I heard you talking to N.A.P, and you said that Indianapolis is changing, and I totally agree with that. I think the business ecosystem is definitely changing for Black Indianapolis, specifically because you see more businesses opening and operating. I think you asked for the temperature. I think the key barrier is access to capital. You talk to any business owner, that's our issue, right? It's how do we get, gain access to funds and finances? Banks don't always give us an opportunity. And not only that, if you're a developer, a Black developer or a brown developer, you're usually going to, win a subprime contract, not a prime. We're never the prime. So these are barriers that need to be dismantled. That's sort of what we do at LISC. We seek ways to just break down these systemic barriers. And I have to throw that in there because what we're battling is always systemic, right? It's the exclusion of us and always trying to fix that, man. And it's very frustrating.
This is a startling statistic. It says these findings, this is from the Huffington Post, in a study that says banks still discriminate against Black business owners. It says these findings echo the result of a recent Intuit QuickBooks survey in which 57% of Black business owners said they were denied at least one bank loan during the formation of their business, while only 37% of non-Black business owners said they were denied.
Right.
So when you hear that number, tell me, what does that do? What does that make you think?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's par for the course. That's our constant narrative, denial. Whether it's in housing and redlining, whether it's denial of a loan, this is our uphill battle, and that's why LISC exists to offer. We have many different loan packages. So for those who don't know what LISC does, we're a community development financial institution. I like to say we're a nonprofit bank. Basically, we can
no doubt.
We can do some things that the bank cannot or will not do, but they do it through CDFI, so through the CRA, the Community Redevelopment Act, banks are, required by the government to give a certain amount of dollars back to the community, but they usually do that through organizations like ours. So we don't really do anything in terms of, we don't build homes. We don't actually go out and feed anybody. We don't offer any services, but what we do is fund. So we'll, find grant dollars and we do loans to ensure that those who are doing the work on the ground have the financial, empowerment to do so.
Yeah. It's so important when we look into our communities and realize that we have a source. One of the things, like with that being said, we realize that a lot of banks deny a lot of Black businesses. Actually, with banking, you realize that a lot of people have denied Black businesses that were qualified, that really met the number, that were actually people who could get the loan, yet were denied. I love what I'm reading right here about LISC, who we are. The Local Initiative Support Corporation, Indianapolis, is the office of a national organization that helps resident-led, based development organizations transform distressed communities and neighborhoods into healthy ones. By mobilizing corporate, government, and philanthropic support, LISC provides financing, technical advice, management, program consulting, training, and policy support to neighborhoods. We help neighborhood-based organizations organize, identify results they aim to achieve, create plans, and then help implement them, a process we call quality of life planning. I love what I'm hearing. And so so how does one go about being involved with LISC?
Right. So if you go to our website, lisc.org, all of the information is there for, if you're interested in partnering with LISC in any way, or you're interested in one of our products, I definitely want to direct, any listeners to the website.
Mm-hmm.
You can find all of the information there regarding any grant opportunities, loan opportunities. And one of the things you read in that mission is we do technical assistance and capacity building. So, after we award, for example, an organization with the funds, we'll then partner with you to help you either deploy or how to leverage those funds, how to properly manage those funds. We also work with small businesses to ensure that you're loan ready. That's another issue. You have to be loan ready. Loan readiness is one of the barriers again, because if we're Black and brown, you have bad credit. A lot of our organizations and banks are not going to, they're not going to give us an opportunity. So, but how do we get out of that debt? How do we get, maintain good credit? Sometimes that costs. So we try to find dollars to even offer programs for loan readiness to prepare you to be in position either for a loan or a grant.
Being poor is expensive.
It's expensive, ain't it? It costs. And it's hard to get out.
Being poor is very, very expensive. And, one of the things that I hear often is, owning your own. People are always like, we got to own our own stuff. But man, the challenge in being able to get to that point, it takes so much, even in doing what I'm doing currently, doing this show. People look, and sometimes, Doc, I'll look and I'll say, man, I don't have a guest today. And I'll be like, all right, we probably gonna do the show. But at the same time, I look and I say, you look at mainstream media, you got a program manager, you got an engineer on the boards, you got your journalist who goes and does the research, you've got the person who works the board while you're doing the show, the person who takes the calls if you got a show that does the calls, and then you look and you say, then you got me. Right. The crazy thing is, I'm all of those people.
You're doing it all.
I'm doing it all by myself.
You're the writer, the director, producer.
I'm the writer, the director. I'm the person that's got to go look it up. I got to put the show together. I've got to make sure all these things are in order, so on and so forth. And it's so crazy, man. When I started the Black on Black Network years ago, 8 years ago, had a studio down. You remember, I had the studio downtown and the whole nine. And man, people didn't understand the cost of that. And so being a business owner is a big task.
Right.
It's a big task.
Right.
And do you all do anything to like educate people who want to be in business? How do you go about educating those people? Tell me how that works.
Yeah, we do some of that. When, for example, if you're a business and you approach LISC and you say, hey, I want to expand my business. We have different grant opportunities, but beyond even the financial support, we do that technical assistance and help you build capacity. So for example, everything you just mentioned, how do I go to the next level? How do I expand? How do I begin to add staff? Those are things that are critical for any business to grow. And oftentimes we just don't have those resources. So organizations like LISC exist to do that. We do technical assistance, and I would direct listeners to our website. Any one of our staff, especially in the area of economic development, can help you with your business. We also do social determinants of health. We also work in the area of affordable housing. We do workforce development. So of the many areas, whatever your interest is, just go on the website and reach out to any one of our staff personnel, and they can.
That means I need to reach out to LISC.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, if you're generating
really,
income, man, you're probably ready to expand your business.
Yeah, I'm really ready to grow the Black on Black network to be pretty much a media conglomerate to the degree where it's doing television, radio, podcast, the whole nine. So yeah, we definitely need to sit down. So when we look at this, man, what's the difference in LISC as it relates to for-profit and non-for-profit? How do you all work in that capacity?
So, being a nonprofit organization, it helps. So let me give you an example. So a bank is sort of limited in its scope. A bank really just holds our money, right? They don't necessarily
they hold it and lend it out.
They hold it and lend it out, and they make
charge us when we want it.
They make money on your money.
Absolutely.
When a bank wants to do community development, which means dollars to make an impact, they'll give those dollars to us. So I'll give you a concrete example. We have programs through J.P. Chase. They're interested in economic development or that business development that we talked about. We have, for example, what's called a facade grant. Organizations who, let's say you have a business, you want a sign for Black on Black because you have a brick and mortar building. Well, the sign is run down. You need some dollars to repair that. We have a facade grant that's awarded up to $15,000 for each organization that qualifies. And you can fix your sign or fix your facade or fix the front so that, you begin to upgrade your facility. But programs like that are usually funded by a bank or an organization that says, hey, we want to give this money to you, but these are the parameters around which we want to give it. So we have a facade grant program. Cummins, we've partnered with Cummins. Cummins has an entire care team, which is a race equity team. They're just a group of the engineers and staff there who are Black, but they've created a cohort that reaches out to organizations like LISC and other organizations to say, hey, we want to do some economic development. So they have supported a lot of our Black business network as well. And some of that has translated into, some of the, I sent you that article about Jay Benzal, one of our, success stories,
Absolutely.
things like that. And all he was trying to do, expansion. He found another location.
That's what keeps you so fresh, huh?
Here's the building. I need to get over there. I'm not on my game, man.
You and I, man, I love some good clothes. I love some good clothes, man.
Yeah, I'm trying to get on your level. You see, I'm just wearing work stuff.
Don't do it.
Because I get it for free.
I see you. Don't do it.
Hey, but yeah, those are examples. We another hallmark of LISC is we want to stay on mission, and we're very thankful for funders who have a passion to work through us to do certain things, like Anthem, who is now Elevance. They awarded us with a $2.5 million food equity grant. We used that to first develop the Northeast side, and then we got another grant from the city for another $1.5 million to expand on the other communities that were without or that were overlooked. So we can't do it all, but whatever little dent we're making, it's making an impact, and that's how you drive a community.
So what keeps you busy? Like right now, what keeps you busy? Because we're gonna jump into that in the second half of the show. But what's keeping you busy right now? What's the heaviest thing going on with you as it relates to LISC in the community?
Man, I'll tell you, in addition to just maintaining our programs and, the job of an ED, you're a fundraiser. So I've got to find the money, right? I've got to always look for the dollars, build those relationships, leverage the dollars that we do, that we do have. But, man, what keeps me up, and this just as well as anybody, just for example, look at the east side, the far east side. You've got John Marshall, which is closed down. So you got a school desert, education desert. There's no bank there. I think maybe they opened a bank desert. There's no grocery store
school out east.
No IPS
high
school at all. So bank desert, school desert, food desert. It's a desert.
Yeah.
You build a community by the vitality of, what's available. And when you see a community decimated like that, it's not just one organization's responsibility, but it's the city's responsibility to say, okay, what can we do to build these communities that have been, we use this term underinvested. I never use that term underinvested. Our communities are disinvested.
There we go.
Because Black communities have been, to me, intentionally excluded, and money has been intentionally taken away so that they don't thrive. And
That's
again,
real.
we're fighting systematic racism and systematic, inequities that persist, man. And it takes those of us who have a mind to say, hey, this ain't right. We got to do something about it. We can't just let it happen. Yeah. And these are our communities. So what are we doing collectively to say, how do we build our own communities and stop looking for somebody else to come in? Ain't no Superman coming in to do it. Yeah. We have to figure out.
The cavalry is not coming.
They ain't coming. They ain't coming. And if you hold your breath, you're going to die.
Willie Frank Middlebrook, man. Remember that? The cavalry is not coming. And that is real, man. And when we look at that, that when it's all said and done, that's why I have been so hell-bent on media, because, a lot of our media now is controlled by corporate entities, by sponsorship. Right. So therefore, the messages don't go out. People don't get to talk about certain things. And now we look and you don't hear these types of conversations simply because corporate entities control our media. And so, that's why, I'm hell-bent on building this. So when we look at our communities and you realize we got all these deserts, how do we create a mindset of being cognizant of it being a desert? Because I've said this on our shows, Doc. I've said that we have become people who most of these agencies, and you can correct me if you think I'm wrong. Most of our agencies, most of these organizations that are being built now are more so agencies that are built to keep us comfortable in poverty. Now we are people who says, I'm gonna get a turkey or a ham. I'm gonna get some Christmas stuff. I'm gonna get some food when it's time for the food for gleaners or whomever to come around. I'm gonna get Easter, whatever, the whole nine. I'm gonna get a coat in the winter. I don't have to now have the mentality of saying I want to get my own, because there are so many programs that are developed to say be comfortable where you are and don't strive for anything. How do we change the mindset of our people to understand that right now something is going on to where our programs are being created to make us comfortable in poverty and in the ghetto?
Well, you really, man, you really went deep there. I mean, you're on target. I mean, there's a book called Toxic Charity that talks exactly about that. We've not only grown complacent, but then it makes us comfortable in the situation where we don't look at sustainability. And that's what LISC is about. It's about how do we build a sustainable community? Not just how do we get you fed one day, but then how can we ensure that you have an urban garden that you can feed a whole community in perpetuity? And that's, so when it comes to food justice, it's not about one food basket. You got to eat 3 times a day, not just a dinner, And then not only that,
quality food.
And quality food and culturally appropriate food.
There you go.
Black folks, you don't put, if you're gonna put, some canned food, don't put pumpkin to make pumpkin pie. We eat sweet potato pie. So it's sweet potatoes, you know, and or if you're Latino, you got to have rice and beans in there and other ingredients that are culturally appropriate. So we're overlooking a lot of nuances, man, that keep us complacent. But if we ourselves don't recognize that, you know, we have to be willing to educate, and we have to be willing to say, hey, it's not enough for us to just get one meal a day. And that's just one example. Even as a business, we have to be sustainable. So let's say you get a loan for $50,000. That's going to help you. But once that 50,000 runs out, then what?
Yeah.
That should help you generate some income so that you're now sustainable and independent and can grow from there. Because like you just said, if you're beholden to a certain interest, then you're beholden to that money. And when that money runs out, then what? Or if you don't do it the way they want you to do it, then what? To be independent means we have to, as a community, stop looking for someone to feed us. Let's figure out how to grow our own food.
Man,
let's figure out how to join together. It's a whole nother show about Black unity. Let's join together and partner to have a sustainable business model, and not just and man, look, people are not really, we're not aware, and I'm glad you have a media outlet because media is so important. We don't really know what's going on right now. The Supreme Court, I'll give you an example. We have two programs, a Black Developer Growth Initiative for Black developers, and we have a Latino Business Support Network. The Supreme Court has just now said you can't use those terms. So we're going to have to figure out how to change the name in a minute.
That's real.
If the Supreme Court has their way, I mean, they've already, Roe versus Wade has been overturned.
Gone.
I mean, you can't, affirmative action is overturned.
Gone.
What's next? We can only guess what's next.
Gone. Yep.
So if we're not cognizant of these things, man, we can't afford to be complacent.
Man,
we can't afford it.
You're preaching.
So I don't know.
Because man, it's so crazy. You know, Doc, when I look, it's so crazy how unaware we are. It is wild, the fact that we get up, people get up, not just common folk. I'm talking well-trained, well-taught, well-educated people get up every day and do nothing to know anything about what's really going on every day in this country. Right. And don't realize how many things have been taken away that we fought for 40, 50 years ago.
Just stripped away, just piece by piece.
Piece by piece. Piece by piece. So with that mentality, one of the biggest challenges, man, and you know this, and we're going to jump into this now. We're in the second half. You know, people that don't know you, realize that don't know. If they don't know you, they don't know that you were the deputy mayor of neighborhoods at one point.
Right.
And when I look at this, Doc, one of the things that challenges me is the fact that the leaders, so-called leaders, have the mentality. They've now picked our leaders. And when we look at our leaders, we realize our leaders don't know that they're being utilized to carry out a mission that keeps us in the same place and not elevating. And for me, I'm challenged because when I say the things that I say, and I say, that's not really changing anything.
Right.
And when I look at an organization such as yours that you're leading in LISC in Indianapolis, your organization is about changing things, bringing things and elevating it, and then actually having this thing of saying sustainability.
Right.
If the leaders that are now being developed are not on board with elevating and changing, because here's the problem. That's where their paychecks come from. That's how they're feeding their families. They're feeding their families off the demise of the greater good, off the masses. How do we get them on board to say, listen, you can possibly take a different turn in your organization and create something different? But most of these organizations, they want to sustain what's happening. How do we change the mindset of them? Because if those organizations continue to be what they are, then what you're fighting for is you're going to eventually hit a brick wall. How do you change that mentality?
Yeah, I think, you ask a valid question. I think we all have to be willing to challenge our thinking, and how do we measure for impact? I think that's what we should all do in every sector. LISC, I mean, I can't exist. I can't keep my job because what I do is measured by them. I've got to hit goals. I've got a loan goal to hit.
Sure.
I've got a fundraising goal to hit. I've got, there's a certain number of investments that have to be made, and we have to measure that impact. So nothing is just done by happenstance. I have to be able to show in a report, before our program, 10 people were fed. After we came into the community, 100 people were fed. I mean, these are concrete statistics that should be tracked, that must be, analyzed, and we have to analyze the data because the data informs us on what we should be doing. And you said it earlier. Again, let's look at food, for example. If all we're doing is feeding people, they get a food basket, they're going to come back next week and the week after that and the week after that and the week after that.
Right.
So if before COVID we had a line of food wrapped around, a line wrapped around the corner, and 1 in 3 children are hungry, and here today in 2024, still 1 in 3 are hungry. Have we made an impact? Have we moved the needle? And these are things we have to constantly challenge ourselves as as organizations, as a city, as leaders, as citizens. What are we doing to make an impact and to move the needle? And that's the challenge we face. You mentioned it earlier about poverty and it costs. Indianapolis, I think, is one of the top 5 cities in the US where if you're born into poverty, it's either hard or impossible to get out.
That's right. If you're born
So
in the
what
bottom
does that
20%,
tell us?
it's like a 4% chance of being in the top 20. Absolutely.
So what that tells us is where are the opportunities and how can we create them so that we turn that statistic around? How do we turn things around? That's the challenge that we face, impact. And how do we measure it? When we came out with our strategic plan, last year, I told my staff, we have to implement not just aspirational goals, but quantifiable goals. And how do we, so our mission is close the racial wealth gap. I love it. That's wonderful. Well, what does that mean? What does that look like? How do we do that statistically? We have to be able to show that. That's aspirational. Do away with racism. What does that look like though? How do we measure that? And I don't think we're measuring enough, as a society.
No, I agree. And man, it is let's transition really quickly. At one point you were the deputy mayor of Indianapolis, of neighborhoods. I see a lot, and this is a duality, because I know that even though you're in that position, you still see things from your social justice perspective, your advocacy perspective, your ED perspective, and your deputy mayor perspective. Something has happened to where someone has said the only way to prevent us from being violent is through fun.
You said fun?
I hear the only way we're not violent is if we're partying.
Wow.
The only way we're not violent is if we're doing something that is deemed fun. And people are being funded for that mentality.
So it's that old Roman philosophy, entertain them.
Entertain them.
Entertain the masses.
Dude, you should have said that, because now I got that in my head. But how, man, how did we get here and how do we get away from that? Because everything I see, it says, in order for them not to be violent, you got to be partying, you got to be having fun. So how do we transition in your opinion?
And not only deputy mayor perspective, but even as a father, man, I was taking my son to school this morning, and we were talking about, it was 7 to 10 young people shot over the weekend.
Seven young people downtown outside Circle Center Mall after 11 p.m.
All under what, 18, 17? Yeah.
From 12 to 17.
And now my son's 18, he's a senior, but he said, and Dad, it's only going to get worse over the summer. He just matter of fact, he just knew that. I said, how do you? He said, because it all starts on social media. I said, well, what are they beefing about? He said, just dumb stuff.
Dumb stuff.
And there is the issue is so multifaceted. It's how do young people get downtown that late at night? What are the alternatives? What are the alternatives for parents? What are the resources available to create programming? And it doesn't necessarily have to be about fun, but it needs to be directed and guided to something that is going to redirect them from the violence.
Sure.
They need something to do. They're looking for something to do. I mean, we have a city that's big enough for young people to have something to do even at that hour, but it takes a vision. It takes a vision.
Rake some leaves, cut some grass.
I get a job, right? Yeah,
do something productive. Because
be productive.
I read an article where mom, she was like, I was downtown Saturday, and me and some friends, we sat outside. We were at Harry and Izzy's, and we sat outside. It was a little windy, but we sat outside nonetheless. And man, I saw so many kids, and I'm like, nah, this don't look good. It was weird. It was eerie because I was just like, what are these kids down here doing? And they just walking and walking and walking. And it's droves of Black kids just everywhere. And, let me clarify this, because now that I think back, they did have the state championship.
There was a state championship basketball.
So a lot of kids should have been downtown nonetheless.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, in this article, the mom was like, yeah, she said that they wanted to go downtown and ride some scooters and this, that, and the other. And I'm just like, okay, so at what point did you say be home? Right. And I just think that, parenting is a parent is a noun and a verb.
Right.
Right. It is a person, place, a thing, but then then it's an action.
Right.
And I think the action part of parenting has been diminished in our community for some odd reason. And, even man, I went to the young man, the funeral of the young man who was killed in Bridgeport at Land Sharks. And I'm old school church. And I walked into church, man, and I was just like, dude, I saw baseball caps. And I was just like, and the crazy thing is, nobody was willing to even tell them to take their hats off. Back in the day, there was like no pause on that. They were like, hey, young man, take your hat off. Now we are afraid of discipline. We are afraid to even talk about or even discipline anyone to any degree. What do we do? What are we doing? And how do we change that mindset, Doc? Because even in the church, I've seen that we become passive. We become passive because we don't know the reaction of those people. How do we change that?
I wish I had the answer, but I will say this: church has certainly changed. I think the paradigm has shifted, especially after COVID. And if you have that many, I think the mentality is today, if you can get that many young people in church, we're just happy to have them there. If they got a hat on, if they're sagging, whatever the case, just happy to have them there. Because nowadays discipline means you might get shot. Gone are them days where your neighbor and other folk could grab your kid and spank them, and everybody was in a wonderful community. Them days are gone. They're over.
Can we not get them back?
I think we can, but see, man, now you've hit on another issue that's an entire show. When we talk about you and I are what? I think we're Generation X.
Yep.
The millennial generation now is parenting. Mm-hmm. And I have to say, I guess I'd have to look at myself first. Anytime you look at the next generation, you have to also analyze the previous generation's parenting.
Sure.
So maybe we had this mentality, I want my kid to have better than I did. We struggled. I mean, I was a latchkey kid. I grew up in the 70s and I had responsibility. My mom said, you better have them chores done before I get back home from work.
That's your job.
From the bus stop, I had a key, had to get in. We were responsible kids, but it was dangerous. But at the same time, now we want our kids to have better. So I think they are ill-equipped. I'm just going to say it. We clip their wings. Mentally, they're weak, if I might say so. Everything is about, I'm triggered. I'm this and that. Man, we grew up without a whole lot of stuff. They got you have the entire world at your fingertips. So everything is instant gratification from the internet. There's no patience. You know, I even see even in employment, millennials expect to be promoted within the first few months or even the first year, where we've put in the work. I don't know how long you've had Black on Black, at least 7 years.
7 years.
And you're still hustling to expand. Young folks start a podcast, they want to be, you know, a millionaire overnight.
International in 2 weeks.
You're gonna be internet, right? That's not the real world, but the internet somehow creates this false narrative, man. And that's why I love Earn Your Leisure. You know,
reality TV.
Reality TV.
Everybody's getting a bag. Everybody's rich. It's easy to get money. Everything's accessible. I call them. I said they're instant kids. They're just add waters.
Right. We're in a microwave society. We just want it
Absolutely.
quick. And if we don't get it quick, we don't know how to work to get it. And so I think that's part of it. I think, honestly, I just think this generation is spoiled, man. They don't really know how good they have it. They don't know how hard we had it. But I think we do them a disservice to want to do everything for them. You know, I bought my son a car, but I told him I'm not putting gas in it. I'm not doing nothing else. You got the car. You know, any repairs, you got to fix it yourself. So you got a car, but you don't understand how good you still have it. You're not paying the car note and you're not paying the insurance because your daddy's doing that.
Real tough.
Now, the real world is you're going to have to pay car insurance, car note, gas, all of that on your own at some point. And that means being equipped to have a job, keep a job, get to work on time, save your money, budget your money to want the things you want. You got to maintain it. And that's when it comes to sustainability. We are not generating sustainable, you know, communities. Yeah, and that's part of the problem. Everything is quick. It's not sustainable.
Did we do a disservice? And this is real talk. You grew up in Brightwood. I grew up on the east side. I grew up 34th. Okay.
So I was a Trey Foe, not
Trey
2-5.
So I grew up in Hallville. So did we do a disservice to the youth by it's sad to say this because it was a different time. It was a different time when we grew up in those communities. It was good to rep our community. They were good communities, but they was the hood.
Right.
But they were good communities.
They were.
Did we do a disservice to the youth and how we repped our communities? Because they see it for what it is today. We saw it in a different light. And did we do a disservice? And if we go back, how would we have changed that? Because when I grew up in Hallville, people thought Hallville was rough. I'm like, Hallville wasn't like that. You came in Hallville on nonsense. It was like that. And you had your little issues every now and again. Right. But my grandparents was in Hallville. My mom and my aunts, my uncles, and they wasn't wild people. It was a close-knit community. Right. What did we do to make them think that the ghetto was it, even though the ghetto was different then? But now they think that it was like it is now. What did we do to create this mentality that ghetto is good? Because it was two different ghettos to me.
Yeah, and what you're describing is you mentioned your mother, your aunts, your grandparents, and me in the same boat. They all worked. These are hardworking middle class people.
Hardworking, facts.
You know, these aren't folks who are in the street just on drugs and unemployed and walking around. No. And you have some of the same today, hardworking people, but the opportunities are not the same. Communities are decimated, as I mentioned, Far East Side. You got an entire desert. Yeah. IPS has how many actual high schools left? 4.
Washington, Tech, Shortridge.
Yeah.
And
that's where my son attends.
Washington, Tech, Shortridge, Addicts.
And Addicts. Right. So you look and I'm a product of busing. So when my mother moved over to 44th and Arlington, I could have walked to Arlington, but I was bused to Lawrence North.
Yeah.
And again, when I talk about and I don't want to blame everything on systematic racism and the system, but it's the reality. You decimate communities when you take us out of our communities, and then don't reinvest back into the community. So I'm thankful for my education, but it took me away from my community. And so Our education system is decimated somewhat. So now everybody thinks that to make it, and there's no slight on where anybody lives, live where you want to live. But if you think making it is moving to Fishers or Brownsburg or Carmel or Avon, whatever the case may be, we're decimating now the urban core. So we don't have some of the things that we need in Marion County. Taxes are high. And so, we have to find ways to reinvest because it's been decimated.
Yeah.
And people are finding out, wow, it's a different world out here.
Man, it is tremendously different
world,
because these kids, man, they, it's something, Doc, when I look and our kids who did not have, we did in most cases, we did a phenomenal job of bringing our children up, right?
Right.
And they didn't have to go through a lot of the stuff that we went through and grew up differently. They had their own rooms, their own bathrooms, their own television, their own everything. The crazy thing is now kids are wanting to go to where we from.
Yeah.
They want to go to the ghetto.
But they don't know hard. They don't understand.
They don't know hard and they look for it like, man, I'm going to go over there. And I'm like, are you serious?
Right.
It makes me feel like I failed because I'm like, dude, are you really trying to go over there? And it's like, what happens? I'm seeing kids that have no business dying in the streets. And it's like they've done something has happened to where it's been glamorized so much that these kids are like, I gotta be that in order to be known, to be popular.
Right.
And do we have anything in play? What do we need to put in play from your perspective to kind of alter that? Is it PSAs? Is it commercialized? Is it something that we need to put into play to be like, this is not the life you want to live? Because now, that's where kids are going. The music says it, the TV says it, and everybody is like, I got to be that in order to be popular nowadays. Back in our day, to be popular, you was an athlete, you was smart, you were well dressed, or you was something to where people was like, that's his lane and he the man in it. Right. Now it's like, if I ain't holding a pistol and looking a certain way, then I'm not popular. What is it that we could do to change that mindset?
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head. I think when parenting is the first, I think that's first base. That's the key. Because our children in this society are inundated with images. And you mentioned it, Sexy Red is one of the top female rappers. But if you listen to what she's talking about, all it does is degrade and denigrate our young queens, and those are not the images we should that our children should be inundated with and influenced by. And even our male rappers, so much misogyny and just we downgrade each other, and the violence toward ourselves and the self-hatred is there. It's the N-word this and the N-word that. You don't find any other cultural group making music denigrating their own communities. Only us. But why do we? It takes us to decide we're not going to do that. And I know the industry drives, like capitalism drives it, but we have to take a stand and say we're not gonna do that.
All money ain't good money.
It destroys our communities. But I'll say this though, regardless of the images, it takes each parent at home to say, you're not gonna have a TikTok without me supervising it, or you're not going to have an Instagram, or you're not going to have, limit what they're watching. I mean, I've got a 5-year-old, and you got to monitor what they're looking at. And I've got grandchildren. You got to monitor what they're looking at, even on the children's YouTube channels, because people put, evil people put stuff in cartoons and you're not realizing your child is watching an adult cartoon.
Yeah.
And they mask it. And the evil of people today is something that is our responsibility as parents to oversee. You can't just sit your kid in a corner, give them an iPad, give them a phone, and let them go about their business because it's easier for you. So you can get some work done. You got to monitor.
You got to monitor.
It takes work. It takes work.
Listen, I realize how hard my parents work now.
Man.
To be like, man, the monitoring system, it was like they were everywhere.
To keep you involved, they have to keep us in sports. You got to keep us active.
They had allies, though.
Right.
They had allies. It was a coalition of parents. the National Parenting in the Hood Coalition that
Yeah,
was
man.
like, man, they kept eyes on us for real.
Right.
For
Right.
real, man. So, man, tell us, Anthony Hampton did have a question. He said, what's the criteria for loans through LISC? And are all of your grant opportunities solely for non-for-profit organizations?
Yeah. So number one, yes, you absolutely must be. It's if you're going to be awarded a grant, you have to be a 501c3 nonprofit organization, because one thing to understand how the nonprofit world works and how funders work. Funders are going to give to organizations, one, who can show that they have the capacity to administer the funds, to spend down the funds, and that works for private and government dollars. So you do have to have that designation. And then for tax purposes, it's important that you have that designation, because companies are going to want to, write that off on their taxes and claim that. So you have to be an organization that has that designation. In terms of our loan products, again, that's good credit, number one, or at least a 580. We have what's called a CDFI collaborative. So it's not just LISC, it's bankable, it's BOI. We have a list of other organizations that if you don't qualify for a loan through LISC, we have other organizations who are partners who have a little bit more relaxed criteria. But yeah, I would say go online and look at our loan products. We do anything from construction loans to permanent loans, construction lines of credit. We'll follow you from inception to the end, and we have different loan products. Our interest rates are probably around between 8 and 10%. I think they may have lowered to maybe 7%. So we try to be competitive and offer products that if you go to a bank, you might not qualify at a bank, you might qualify through LISC, though, because we're able to be a little bit more flexible. So I would say, number one, if you're a small business owner, just remember your business credit is your personal credit, until you've grown enough that your business has established credit. Yeah. So if you feel like you have the credit worthiness and you have good financial records, that's number two. Make sure you keep good audited financial records. Absolutely. No one is going to give you money if they can't see that you can pay it back. That's real. That's really the key to a loan. They just need to see that you have income. And even myself, I have a business. I'm a business owner. And when I reapplied for my MBE certification, they said, okay, we need to see your last 3 years tax statements. If you don't have tax statements and you're not filing your taxes, again, that's gonna put you at red flag. That's real. I mean, these are realities, right? You can't just go in and think you're going to get a loan, get some money, get certified, anything, if you're not filing your taxes, have decent credit, and you don't have good financial records to just show that, you're solvent and that you can pay it back. So those are really the keys to a loan.
No doubt. Yeah.
So,
man, tell us where you're going to be. How do we get in touch with you? What's the play?
Yeah, so man, we're excited about some of our programs. We're planning. Well, we just hosted the National AmeriCorps Conference in Indianapolis. So many young Black and brown. They're not students; they're actually graduated, but interns who work through AmeriCorps through our workforce development program. We're about to celebrate another Bridges to Career Opportunities workforce development next month. We have in the area of health, we have opportunities through our vacant lot acquisition fund that we were just awarded with, Equitable Food Access Initiative, economic development. Again, we have a facade and property improvement program. We're actually in the process of, I need to raise more dollars for that, but we have, generous donors who give to that so that we can make sure that our businesses are supported. We have a real estate assistance fund for Black-owned businesses. We have a Verizon Small Business Digital Ready program. These are just all programs I'm naming off, but
have you
anyone who's interested,
Washington?
Go to our website. I'm sorry.
Have you met with Katina Washington?
Oh, absolutely, man. Katina, and the She event. I mean, she's, one of our success stories. So
she's a hustler.
She's a hustler. I mean, she is a model of what it looks like, for not just a woman in business, but anyone running a Black business, how to effectively partner with other businesses and leverage and force multiply, to create an ecosystem. And that's really what it's all about. And one thing I'm learning, even when it comes to funders, they're looking for partnership. Lilly Endowment, is one of our biggest supporters and funders. We can't do half of what we do without Lilly Endowment. And that money goes out, even with Urban League, $100 million, award from Lilly Endowment to do the, African American Quality of Life Initiative. And these are things that not only are we awarded, but we try to partner with organizations. If nobody hears anything I say today, it is, I want you to hear partnership is the key. Don't think you have to do everything by yourself. Don't do it all alone. In our Black community, we just need to learn how to work together, man.
Agreed.
We have to. It's a must.
That's a whole nother show.
It's another show. It's not a theory. It's not. We must do it or we cannot survive.
Agreed.
We can't afford not to.
Nikki Johnson said, how can small businesses, you just said, get in touch with the right people? Sustainability has been hard, and I find there are gatekeepers that look like me. I agree. But what we can do, Nikki, is definitely get you in touch with LISC and see where they can guide you in your business. And so
just go to our website, lisc.org /Indianapolis. And one thing I like to say is we can't do everything. We can't work miracles.
Right.
We do what we can do with the limited resources we do have. But when it comes to economic development and businesses, we do have tools in the toolbox. And if it's something that aligns with what you're doing or you qualify for that particular opportunity, then by all means. And if LISC can't do it, again, there are other community development financial institutions that exist that can also help you.
That definitely work outside of 501c3s. And definitely, I think people need to get with the SBA. Is it SCORE?
Small Business Association.
Yeah. That's the with all the retired executives that you can sit down with, and they can guide you through the process of your business. So, Nikki, that we'll talk about it, but definitely there's some organizations that we can definitely guide you to.
And let me clarify, for a grant, for if you're a 501, if you're a nonprofit organization, you need to be a 501c. If you're a business, as long as you're an LLC or business entity, so you don't have to be a 501c3 if you're a business owner. Obviously, that's for profit. So we encourage you to, again, peruse the website, look at what we have to offer. And again, keep in mind, I have to fundraise to maintain our program. So if there's something that the community feels is a need that doesn't exist, I'd like to hear your ideas so that I can go and create a grant and go after that money to say, hey, we have a growing need in Indianapolis. Here's the gap area. Are you interested in, funding this type of opportunity? And so those are things I have to do.
I'm definitely going to be on your heels, man. We're going to have to get some coffee or something, because we're going to build this network, man, because I think that I know it's necessary for us to own our own media. That's why I've done it for so long. And so, man, we'll definitely have to sit down and just chop it up and I hear your thoughts and see how we can build up on this.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it, man. It's always a great time, man. We're going to be in touch with you. If there's anything that you have going on with LISC, man, and you need to get it out through this media profile, man, you can always call me and we can get it on and we can talk about it, man. I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Excellent show. Thanks
for
having me.
No doubt, man. It's been our brother, man, David Hampton, man. You have a great one, brother. I'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you.
Brother. Peace. Man, so you just heard from Dr. David Hampton and LISC. We've talked about a lot of things. Dr. David Hampton was, he's not only the executive director of LISC, but he used to be for a few years, at least one full term. He was the deputy mayor of neighborhoods for the city of Indianapolis under Joe Hogsett. So great shout out there. So, man, nonetheless, as we finish our show, we always go to the verse of the day, and our verse of the day comes from Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. It says, for we, and this is the New Living Translation, for we are not fighting against flesh and blood enemies, but against evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world, against mighty powers in the dark world, and against evil spirits in the heavenly places. So when it's all said and done, man, what we are fighting against is not flesh and blood. We are not fighting against ourselves. We're fighting against some entities. And when it's all said and done, when you look and we see that 7 young people were shot, there's something going on. And we got to be better agents of dealing with that issue. We don't just have bad people. There are things going on to create a mindset of acting a certain way. And we have to address the things that get into the mind, that feed into the heart, that causes our people to do the things that we do to each other. And I just want us to be better agents of loving on each other as opposed to hating on each other. I want us to be more focused on elevating each other as opposed to killing one another. Again, what we're fighting against is not flesh and blood. It is not. It looks that way because that's the result. What we see is what we believe, but what's not seen is what's really happening. And I just want us to be better agents of looking for those things and being able to address those things so that we can change the minds of our people. So, man, this has been y'all's brother. If you want to help, with the show, help us in the development of No Apologies, Please. We got our Cash App at No Apologies, Please. By all means, be able to chime in there. If you know someone that you believe should be a guest on No Apologies, Please have them send an email to blackonblackllc@gmail.com, and we'll do our level best to get them on. This has been a great show, man. I've enjoyed every bit of it. Tomorrow, again, we won't be on. I'll be taping Laying It on the Line with Shauna Majors tomorrow. And then we'll have a guest on Thursday. And then we're going to have another guest on Friday. So we'll be back on. It's been a great day. Enjoy the day. Do something positive. Support a Black business. And stay safe. It's been your brother, Greg Meriweather. You have a great one. Peace.